It's already recording?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, hey everybody, like Frank said before, nice to meet you all. I'm Jakejames Lugo. I'm a games journalist. I do stuff for thecoalition.com. I'm the senior editor over there. I freelance for IGN. I freelanced for Playboy. I freelance for Zelda Universe, Pixelkin, and a number of other places. I also post up stuff on YouTube as well, like my little vlogs and different interviews that I do. And also today I get to announce to you guys, I actually got a podcast now on iTunes. I actually do a show called TK Spotlight, which is both on the Coalition here, which is the website that I do content for, but also I put the podcast over on iTunes for everybody. Again, just different formats and such. So what I do is I basically talk about video games. I give my opinions about video games, throughout for the last, I want to say, going on 7 years now that I've been doing this. So it's been pretty insane. It's been an ordeal and adventure. It's been a variety of different things, a lot of emotions all over the place. I've always wanted to be part of gaming. I always wanted to be part of the industry, not just in the development side of things, because I know some of you guys out there, you guys are wanting to be game developers, correct? You guys want to get into the industry? You want to become indie devs or work for a AAA publisher or developer someday? I wanted to be on the flip side of that, because there's many facets of the industry. There's just not one path to the top of the mountain. So for me, it was always cool, the discussion about games, the talking about games. Again, when you're together with your friends, you're talking about games, what's the best, what's the worst, what's cool, whatever else. Like that. So I was always obsessed with that. I always thought it was cool. Anybody here listen to like Hot 97? Anybody listen to like The Breakfast Club, Power 105? Say a couple of fans in the back, okay. Anybody know who Angie Martinez is?
Oh, everybody.
Okay, if you're a hip hop fan, you know who Angie Martinez is. Any Tupac fans in here? No? One in the back. Two maybe. But yeah, like that's how I kind of like envisioned a lot of stuff that I would be a part of. Not necessarily in the hip hop aspect of stuff, but really, gaming and such. So I want this, with me being here today, rather than just me talking, I want this to be a discussion with me and you guys, because I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have a lot of thoughts, a lot of questions, a lot of things you guys want to know about, a lot of things you guys want some food for thought and insight about when it comes to gaming, when it comes to the industry and stuff. So I'm going to open up the floor to anybody that has questions, that anybody has any sort of comments or things that you guys want me to touch on. Maybe I could offer a little bit of my expertise, a little bit of my thoughts and my insight to you guys, again, whether you're into game development, whether you just love video games or anything of the sort. So have at you. Who's got some comments in the back?
Unity or Unreal?
A lot of people right now, from what I've seen, especially a lot of games that are getting published on places like PSN, Xbox Live, are using Unity. Like, for example, Pac-Man 256. I know that's one that I reviewed not too long, was maybe a good couple of months ago when it came out, because that was also some sort of mobile game back then, but it was built in Unity. There's a couple other games here and there that have been all over the place. Some of them not really that big, and some of them okay, somewhat big, that end up using Unity. I know also, I think it's Unreal 4 right now. There's a couple big AAA games that have been using stuff like that. But as far as like my preference, it doesn't really matter to me as long as it's fun to play, as long as it's interesting to play. Again, whether it's aesthetically pleasing or it's gameplay pleasing, like that. Hopefully that answers.
Thank you.
So, any comments, any thoughts, anything that you guys are curious about?
I'm curious, how was it like freelancing for IGN and Playboy? What is it like? That's like a stark, such a stark difference.
That's a weird one. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you wrote for Playboy, so you talked about women, right? No, unfortunately not. But basically, I had a friend of mine named Mike. He used to be he used to be an editor over at Kotaku, and then he ended up going to work for Playboy with Playboy's gaming side of things, like Gamer Next Door. I know Andre Renee had a show at one point that she did content with that and a few other things, but he was in charge of all the gaming content there, and he was looking for freelancers at the time. So as a freelancer, as someone that identifies as a journalist, as someone that likes writing about games as much as he does talking about them, you want to be able to freelance wherever you can. Wherever there's money, wherever you can get a paycheck, wherever you can actually put out content that's related to you. It doesn't matter where it goes, as long as it's going out there, as long as your name is attached to it and it's good quality. So with Playboy, that kind of came from not only answering a lot of like Twitter postings, messages, emails, postings around and word of mouth from people that were looking for freelancers, people that were looking for people just to get content out so they could edit and just put out stuff for throughout the days and the weeks and stuff. But that was pretty cool. I ended up doing 2 postings on Playboy. I did one list about the best Batman games that didn't have Arkham in the title. So that's like Batman on the NES, Batman on Sega Genesis, Sega CD, Batman in the arcades with the Batmobile. Anybody get to play that, like Dave & Buster's or something, the Batmobile? Yeah. It's pretty awesome. Like 1989 Batmobile. That's enough said. What else did I have? I think I had Batman Forever. I think at one point. Batman Returns for the Sega Genesis and Sega CD. a variety of different games, but as long as they weren't the Arkham series done by Rockstar, that's what went on the list. And then I think I did another one about like the best role models or gaming characters that were role models for fitness. So like the Centurion from Altered Beast, for example, like something like that. That was like a crazy fun list, but content that I put out there. But besides Playboy, IGN is a funny story because I've always wanted to work for IGN. That's where I want to go. That's my goal. I want to go be someone that's on staff with them and actually put content out. Because to me, at least in my own opinion, it's different for everybody out there. IGN is the biggest website in our industry. It's the biggest one in the world. They're franchised in other countries, but here in the United States, they are the big dog. They are the top. They are the top of the mountain. Plain and simple. So obviously, wanting to do the best work, I want to be able to go work for the best. And how that ended up like coming together. Anybody listen to Podcast Beyond? Anybody know what Podcast Beyond is? Any Podcast Beyond fans? One person? Okay, IGN has a variety of different podcasts that they have. Okay, they have Podcast Beyond, which is their PlayStation S-centric type of podcast. They have Nintendo Voice Chat, which is Nintendo games. Then they have, I believe it's Podcast Unlocked, which is their Xbox-centric podcast. Then they have a bunch of other stuff like movies and etc. Podcast Beyond one time, it was a guy named Jared Petty that he did a bunch of like different editing and wiki guide stuff on the website. He put out a call to everybody out there that was listening to the podcast that, listen, we're looking for freelancers and people that want to join up to edit wiki guides. Wiki guides are basically just guides, how to play games. That's basically what they are. You write up entire pages worth of how to play a particular game. But they needed people to actually do that. So I was able to answer the call and send them a message and tell them, hey, listen, I'm here. I want to help. I want to actually be there for you guys. So I ended up as my first kind of like trial run. Anybody know of a game called Freedom Wars on PS Vita? One, two people.
Yeah.
I wrote the entire guide myself for for Freedom Wars on IGN. So that guide is my guide. That was like my probation run before I got paid. I didn't get paid for that guide, so I was a little salty about that. But they were able to at least see where I was at, see what I could contribute. And then from there, I've been freelancing for them almost going on next February is going to be 3 years.
Nice.
So I've been doing it for about 2 years now, just posting up content. I wrote recently, last couple games I actually did guides where I did it for Shadow of War, Middle-earth Shadow of War that just came out. WWE 2K18, literally within the last week I did that. I went back and did Ghost Recon Wildlands. I've done it for WWE 2K17, Doom, Fallout 4, there's a lot I'm trying to think of. Fallout, Shelter on iOS and mobile, and a bunch of others since then. And I like doing it because not only it's a good work, it puts stuff out there, it helps people and such, but also it's stuff to my name that's part of the biggest outlet in the industry. At least that it's something that's personal to me, that's a cool personal accomplishment.
When did you start the coalition?
So the coalition, I came on after about 2 years or 3 years or a couple of years that the website was around. And when I started as a freelancer, just a greenhorned young gaming journalist wannabe, I started posting up on YouTube. And I went to a website from there called Real Taco Gamer, and then another website afterwards called Shifted to You. And once I was done with Shifted to You, I had been talking to a couple of the editors that were over there, that they were looking for more people to join their staff. And I eventually was like, you know what, I want to go to this website because they're doing something. Because of them, because of the coalition, I started within my first few years, I was able to go to PAX East, my first industry event, and eventually E3, which is where everybody wants to go. Because E3 is the big conglomerate event that everybody loves because it's where all the announcements happen. That's our Super Bowl in the gaming industry. So I was able to go to my first E3 because of them.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Any comments?
Why did IGN team up with Humble Bundle?
I'm sorry?
Humble Bundle, they teamed up with IGN?
Yeah, they actually bought Humble Bundle. They purchased them. One of the things I know that Per Schneider at one point was talking about it, where they said that they never really wanted to change up what Humble Bundle was. They just wanted to kind of like work with them to actually have them do better things and bigger things. They wanted to give them the resources to give maybe better deals for people, better opportunities for other games or other indie games that people might not know about to get more exposure out there. Like a lot of the weird misconception is like when something like that happens, is that automatically whatever entity is getting it is going to ruin it. And that's never the case. Like that. Usually in this case, they want to make it better because they're probably fans of it as well. Everybody here has checked out Humble Bundle, right? Everybody knows what Humble Bundle is?
Yes.
Like you get all, pay what you want, or sometimes you pay a certain amount, you get like a bunch of games and it's like a celebration and stuff like that. They want to be able to enhance that, make it better. Any other thoughts?
There's been a couple controversies in the media with game journalists finding themselves at the center of it. Do you think that's bad for the gaming industry? And how do you, as an aspiring games journalist, avoid those kind of controversies? Or do you want to avoid them?
Of course, everybody wants to avoid controversy. Like, obviously, in entertainment, you always hear, like, all press is good press, whether it's bad or good or whatever else. But I think, like, obviously, controversy, sometimes, well, it's weird for us in the gaming industry, from the journalists or the media standpoint, because everybody has an opinion and such when it comes to things like this, because we're such a big entertainment medium. I don't like controversies. I don't like the nonsense, the quote-unquote drama that a lot of different places get into, because I think it doesn't really help us as a whole as an industry. It doesn't really contribute anything, and it kind of divides people. One of the biggest misconceptions, and I was talking about this recently with a guy named Colin Moriarty. Everybody here has checked out Kind of Funny? Anybody knows Colin Moriarty? He's heard of him, listened to podcasts, Podcast Beyond. He's written a bunch of stuff. He was my last big interview that I did recently over on the Coalition as part of my show. And one of the things that we were talking about was this big disdain that people have, not just consumers, but just people in general, have with the games media, or just media in general. I mean, besides the political stuff, besides the election, all that other craziness that's disassociated with it. With the gaming media specifically is because everybody's so opinionated on social media, everybody wants to be heard, everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon and be accepted, be part of the masses and stuff. We get a lot of mixed messages, we get a lot of noise all over the place. And we get away from what's really important stuff. It's not only the games and the discussion of the games. We get so caught up on the disdain and the hatred because some outlet gave a particular score to a particular game that might be popular amongst everybody else, that automatically becomes a mudslinging matchup. And I think that's wrong, and I think that's terrible because, you know, most of the time, if not 99.9% of the time, it's unwarranted. I mean, everybody, I'm assuming here, knows about Gamergate, right? Everybody has seen it unfold over the last couple of years. To be totally honest with you, Gamergate was never really about what it was all kind of like played out to be. It was never really about ethics and journalism, even though people cared about stuff like that. It really started from not only just argument between two people that just, again, were handling their own business and stuff, but everybody blew it up into something that it wasn't. It ended up becoming a hashtag. I think it was like Alec Baldwin's brother came up with the hashtag Gamergate, because he was making fun of Watergate at one point, and then everybody just ran with it, and it became this thing, literally in the industry. But as far as the individual, as far as me, and as far as I know a lot of other people in the industry, nobody ever really wants to get into controversy because it takes away a lot of your energy and a lot of your time and a lot of your effort that you put out towards making good content, towards something else that you don't really want to be associated with. I mean, why get caught up talking about a controversy, something like that, any sort of hashtag or whatever else, when you could be talking about games that are coming out that week, when you could be talking about something awesome like a developer, spotlighting an icon in our industry, talking about upcoming events and other stuff that people might not know about. You know, it's just amazing to me that now for a lot of different places, not just bigger outlets here and there, but a lot of individuals, a lot of people seem to be under the misconception is that you have to deal with stuff like that. And I don't think we really have to deal with stuff like that. We just got to pick and choose better what we want to focus on. Like that. Hopefully that gives a little bit better insight for me. The crazy thing is too, right? A lot of that is directed at larger outlets. A lot of that is directed at places like IGN, like a Polygon, like a Kotaku, like a Rock, Paper, Shotgun, etc. The list goes on. And it's like, it's almost become a fad, I've said plenty of times, or like an in thing to take a shot at a bigger outlet just for taking a shot, because you want to be quote-unquote real, because you want to be quote-unquote different. You want to be the legit kind of like penultimate source that everybody goes to, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on your own blog, your own Tumblr, your own social media, whatever else. Just because you're taking a shot at the bigger outlet, that automatically legitimizes your stuff. And that's a really big common misconception. Because even before I started doing stuff on the Coalition, even before I started doing stuff with IGN and any other outlet, I never wanted to be known as that guy that was just the person that was just taking shots at everybody or just putting out that negative energy towards everybody in the industry. I wanted to put out better positive stuff. I wanted to encourage other people. I wanted to work and collaborate with other people rather than just be at odds with everybody. So hopefully that answers everything there. So any other comments, any other thoughts, or any other stuff that you guys might want to know about?
I got a question for you, man. As a game reviewer, right, and getting hit on with a lot of games to review, right? When you go home at the end of the day, like, do you play games? And if so, you know, what attracts you now to play something for fun?
I play a lot. I mean, I play a lot more than the average person, I would say. And it's usually like that for most people that are critics, reviewers, game journalists, whatever else. But for me, when I'm playing like different different stuff, and I'm not doing it for work like that, it's usually something that I just really just want to spend time with and I can just chill out with. I can just relax, I can hang out. Playing stuff like Destiny 2, I know that's a big game with a lot of people now, Overwatch. Fighting games, Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite came out not too long ago. We're getting DLC for Injustice 2. Things like that maybe might not be the most like hottest thing right now, but just where I could just relax and just chill out. That's usually what I gravitate towards. When it comes to the work aspect of it, when I'm doing reviews, I'm usually open to just about everything because I want to be able to put enough content out there. There are some genres and types of games that I don't really kind of gravitate towards as much, or it's like a real big sigh when I have to do something work related with it. My biggest, most annoying project I ever was part of, everybody knows about Dark Souls, right? Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. I had to do the guide on IGN for Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin, where I had to play through the entire game and mark off what was different between the original Dark Souls 2 and Scholar of the First Sin. And everybody knows that about those From Software games, okay, knows how terrible and ridiculously hard they could be. They just do not want to cooperate. Like, you're working on the game's time. It's not working with you, basically. And that was like a good almost 2 or 3 weeks just struggling to get through it. I had to get a friend to do co-op with me just to get through the most basic sections just so I could work on this guide. Like that. There are moments like that where it becomes a trouble. But other than that, even with the work, it's still fun to me. It's still enjoyable. Any other comments, questions? What's up?
As to something that came to my mind, like a video game specific outlet like IGN versus a generic media outlet like the Wall Street Journal that happens to have like, a department for games. Who would have a bigger audience?
Well, obviously, I mean, if you just look at it numbers-wise, I'm pretty sure there's probably some data to support it. The one with the more generalized kind of like focus and stuff that's covering everything is going to have the bigger audience because you have more different pools to pull from when it comes to like the type of interests and people that you're reaching out to. So obviously the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal is going to get a ridiculous amount of people checking out their stuff, not just their website, but also the papers and all these other things. When you get more specific, you get more niche and you get more specialized. When it's like gaming or just entertainment in general, like pop culture, then obviously that pool starts to shrink down a little bit. Even though like an outlet like an IGN or a Polygon is still major in their own right. You still got a ridiculous amount of people. IGN's getting smart too because they're really kind of putting a lot of effort into all their different stuff, not just gaming. They have movies, TV, comics, obviously the wiki guides and everything else outside of that. They even do other stuff. Besides like Humble Bundle, they have the esports show that they did on, I think it's like Sirius XM or XM Radio, something of the sort. But they've been really branching out to other places and really starting to pull in a lot more people from different outlets, different areas and walks of life. So it's at that point it comes down to personal preference. I mean, if you really care about gaming and you're looking for opinions on gaming, you should go to everywhere you could go for stuff, not just to one place. But if you just want a different opinion that's different than what you're usually, different than a normal, what you're going to, then obviously go to some place that normally doesn't cover games as much. That's a little bit more generalized, like the Wall Street Journal, or even kind of like, what was it? I forgot which outlet it was or which paper it was. I think it was some sort of magazine. I can't remember. It was like, Entertainment Weekly or something that also started doing gaming at one point, that they're also trying to put out reviews and other articles and op-eds and stuff. But you want to be able to absorb as much as you can from everywhere. Hopefully that helps.
All right. I don't know how well you'd be able to kind of tackle this question, but okay, so as a game dev, right? And being a local game dev here.
Who's a game dev, by the way? Who wants to be a game dev? Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so most good chunk of you guys. Anyway. That's right.
How do we begin the process of kind of like creating the connections with the journalistic industry, bridging the gap from being completely isolated, just working on a project, and I guess doing self-marketing versus reaching out, making connections, and kind of talking to people who could then help push your product or, be your friend or like some kind of connection or anything like that within that industry.
Well,
where does the bridge meet, and have you seen
you're
that
all
happen?
part of the same industry. That's one thing. But journalists, games journalists, devs, publishers, PR people, we're all part of the same big giant bubble that is the gaming industry, or the umbrella, I should say. The best way to go about it, number one, is just talk to people, is actually be open to reaching out to people. Perfect example, to bring up Colin again. You remember the game Shovel Knight? Or anybody here play Shovel Knight? Okay.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why Shovel Knight blew up so much is because the guys at Yacht Club Games literally targeted and went out to Colin and reached out to him as best they could, because they know he loves platformers, especially nostalgic platformers like Mega Man, Mega Man 2, Mega Man 3, etc. Like, that's his game, so obviously he's going to talk about it on his platform like that. It all stems from just reaching out to people, especially reaching out to all people. One of the biggest misconceptions too when it comes to, the way that devs or whether indie or AAA interact with the media and stuff is that everybody's just trying to reach out to the biggest whales out there, the biggest YouTube channels, the biggest outlets, the biggest influencers on social media and stuff. And that's not always the case, and it's not always the best thing. Obviously, you want to get the most exposure for your game. So you want to be able to have places and outlets that are going to be able to talk and speak to a wider array of people. However, I'm of the mindset, and I've met other people that are of the mindset, that you want to be able to have everybody talking about your game, whether it's good or bad, because again, for some people, all press is good press. But even then, they're still talking about your game. They're still kind of putting out word of mouth about your game. They're still discussing it. No matter what type of game it is, it could be RTS, it could be platform, it could be FPS, it could be whatever you're developing. As long as you're putting it out there for people and you're making it obtainable for people. Whether you put your game on Steam, whether you get your game on PSN, whether you put it on eShop, it doesn't matter. It all stems from just reaching out and talking to people. And also being open to communicating with people that reach out to you. I can't tell you how many times I've reached out to PR or try to reach out to one individual or another and just not get a response. And then I just end up not talking about their game. And a lot of people, maybe they get a little bit of word of mouth here and there, but then it just dies off maybe after about a month. It really sucks, obviously, I can imagine, from being from the dev standpoint, but even then it kind of sucks on the outside looking in and seeing that happen, especially if you have something so good. So you have to be open to talking to people. You have to be friendly. We have, believe it or not, as many people as we have in the game industry on all facets of it, it's still very much a smaller industry. And a lot of people, pretty much everybody knows everybody. In some form or fashion, you've crossed paths with someone at some point or another. So yeah, I mean, reviews, it's always a weird thing because everybody has a really bad taste in their mouth when it comes to reviews. Because again, opinions out there on social media, everybody's loud about different stuff, especially if their favorite game or franchise or something they're passionate about gets dumped on. That's the best way I can put it. It's like when you're critical of something, somebody's always going to get upset about it. Okay. Perfect example for me. I did the review on IGN for Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4. I gave it a 5.5 out of 10. Let me put it this way. A bunch of Naruto fans swore up and down, not only was I paid by IGN to really dump on the game, but also that I wasn't a Naruto fan. That I wasn't an anime fan whatsoever. Like, they come up with these crazy theories. It's like Watergate with them. But at least, the truth was, I ended up getting that because I was such a big Naruto fan. And I wrote the guide on it, which was crazy enough, because I knew more about the game than most other people. So I had the ability to speak on it in some better fashion than most. But point is that everybody is very sensitive when it comes to reviews. And I can even imagine if you're someone that's a dev, indie or otherwise, when you're working on a game and you're hearing somebody talk about your game in whatever way, it's going to make you feel a certain way. But I think it's also part of it that you take that criticism and at least look at it in a form of fashion. So whatever your next project is, you could hopefully make it better, hopefully address some things that maybe you could agree with that might be issues, could have been done better, stuff like that. But it's like part of any other industry. Like, you have people that criticize albums or music or criticize movies. I can only imagine putting years of your life into a video game and then saying like, oh my God, this game sucks. Somebody, especially on like Twitter and stuff, how people are, how they're very blunt and such. So it is what it is, but it's part of the industry. It's part of the process. Any other comments? Any other thoughts?
Yeah. The big market for the video games is for the young people. Yeah, the support for these young creators, young producers is growing.
Oh, you mean, what do you mean, like just like the amount of people that are just getting into it?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the gaming industry is growing all the time. I mean, we've been growing every single year. Like, there's been more people getting into it. We've become much more of a bigger industry, a bigger entertainment medium than most others, even bigger than movies to an extent, because the amount of money that gets exchanged, put into projects, and all this other stuff like that. The point is also we're the most loudest. We're the most loudest when it comes to not only being on social media, but also just in the word of mouth that we have amongst people, because funny enough, I think it was a story, I think it was Grand Theft Auto 5, if I'm not mistaken. Really, some people tried to blame that game for a movie that was coming out that same weekend that did horribly, even though it was a bad movie, apparently. I never saw it, but like they were trying to push the blame on it and stuff like that. But it's things like that that really shows you that people care about gaming enough where they either want to put it out there in a negative light or they just want to be a part of it because it's so exciting. I mean, look at E3 now. E3 got opened up to the public. It was like, I was there at E3 this past June, no welcome room for like the first day because it was so packed and so many people wanted to be there because they just loved the idea of just being around that environment. So, yeah, pretty much, yeah. A lot of people getting into it.
Yeah, but now with the schools opening up for video gaming and all these other places, like the market is being flooded. You know, but like you say, you know, like it's an industry that is becoming much bigger than the film industry now.
It's getting bigger. I don't think it's bigger than the film industry because obviously there's a lot of other factors that come with it. I mean, film's been around for many years. I mean, film is also respected as a different type of art form in the eyes of a lot of other people. So there's still people, believe it or not, that don't care about gaming as much as film, or they don't care about gaming as much as any other art medium, and they look down upon it in one way or another. You have the whole political thing where people try to blame violence on games. There's a lot of other aspects that go along with it. I think it's more so of a respect factor and looking at it as something that's like been significantly impactful for a lot of people.
When my game comes out, can you reveal it?
Yeah, send it to me.
You have to play through all 1,000 levels.
No, if it's 1,000 levels, I'm getting through 10, I'll be like,
Like a little wiki, 1,000 levels.
that is a long. But yeah, send it to me. Whatever games that you guys develop from now or into the future and stuff, reach out to me. Reach out to me. I'll give you guys my business card so you guys can take it by the time we finish today, so you guys stay in contact.
So when you review games, do you like play through the whole game or just part of it?
That's one of the main points that we try to do. That was one of the things, like when I was doing the review for IGN, that they made it a point, like, listen, make sure you play through the full game before you really kind of like, you know, figure out where you stand on it, at least so you can say that you played through it.
And I noticed that some of them have reviewed, but they say review in progress.
So what a review in progress is, for people that don't know, review in progress is it happens for a number of different reasons, especially for bigger games when you get them around the time that's not right before what's called embargo. Embargo is when you get a game early or you get a product early and you can't give impressions or talk about it or post content about it before a specific date and time. Now, what's been happening more often lately, especially with big AAA publishers like Bethesda, Nintendo is notorious for this sometimes. Super Mario Odyssey just came out, what was it, today? Even so, a lot of people didn't even get the game till today. Basically, they're playing the game, they're reviewing it, they want to put something out that you guys know where they stand on it. It's not fully complete yet. They haven't really fully figured out where they stand on it because maybe they haven't seen the end of the game. Maybe they haven't played a particular online mode. That's what happened with Destiny, by the way. And I think it's probably going to happen with Star Wars Battlefront. It's probably going to happen with Call of Duty when it comes out very soon. A lot of these games that have online components to them that are very, very big or very like an intricate part of the game. And for whatever reason, on launch day, the servers aren't working. Nobody can get online. Everybody's getting booted. Everybody's getting dropped. Or the online service that's like a big like component to the game. Or better yet, Destiny 2, the raid. Anybody here play Destiny 2? Anybody a big Destiny 2 fan? No? The raid, the Leviathan raid, wasn't ready upon release. So a lot of places waited to make sure that they played all aspects of the game, or at least dived into it and kind of explored it before they were like, okay, this is our final review, this is our final standpoint on Destiny 2. So that's really what a review in progress is for. People have been getting a little bit more brash about it now these days because that's, at least people want to know what's up with these games at the time that they're coming out. Because remember, you're going to go to the store and pay $60 for it. There's going to be a bunch of people like that. Or they want to at least know if it's worth going out to the store and launch. Like that. Hopefully that answers the question. But, so what else do you guys want to know about in the game industry?
How do you feel about games that's not like complete? Like,
What do you mean specifically?
like the indie game feels good, but it's like incomplete. Like it was kind of broken, like a bug in the game.
Not like a bug or just like things that just feel like they need patches, you mean?
No Man's Sky.
Oh, No Man's Sky, yeah. No Man's Sky is the one that everybody pokes fun at. Deservedly so.
Does that affect your review of the game?
Yes, because here's the reason why. Okay, and number one, when you put out a product on your launch, okay, the game industry, and I know I'm not the first one to say this, there's plenty of others that say this, the game industry is the only industry where you could put out a quote-unquote incomplete product and expect everybody to pay full price for it. And then have this mentality where, oh, we'll fix it later. That's a big problem in a lot of aspects because it used to be, especially, I want to say a couple console generations ago, like 90s, SNES, Super Nintendo, was it Sega Genesis, even the N64 and the PlayStation 1 days, when a product was being shipped out, it was done. It had to be done because if it was broken, if there was bugs in it, it's in there forever. There's no online component and there's no kind of ability to patch it and stuff. Because it does that with Super Nintendo. But I'll come out and say like, hey, listen, I'm getting all these different issues, these bugs. Are you sure like this is what is in it? Like this is it? Like this is the game itself? And sometimes they'll be like, oh no, there's a day one patch coming out, there's such and such coming out. We'll get it out to you, this fix at this day. I've had that before. I think I've had that not only with Fallout, when I was doing a Fallout guide, and I think one other one, I can't remember. That was like maybe a year or so ago, where I've had that kind of thing I had to deal with. But it's really not that bad. Usually they're very cool about it. They'll be like, yeah, we're still got stuff coming out. Because again, you're getting an early release copy sometimes, and you can only test for so many things. Like, there's bugs that are like really bad. There's like, yo, how the hell did you miss this type of stuff? But then there's other ones that are just silly, that are just like, okay, you got a ridiculously big game like Fallout 4. There's bound to be some bugs in this open world somehow. I remember the one bug I ran into where I forgot what the name of the boss was. It was coming out of this lake in one area. I think if anybody has played Fallout 4, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's this giant thing, this
It
huge,
was green something.
Some-
Giant human crab.
like you go towards like this fountain or lake, there's like a little flower there, and all of a sudden this giant thing just comes out. I remember going to it, and as I'm in the fight, the thing got boosted up into the air on top of a tree, and just stood there. So all I had to do was just take my gun for like maybe a couple minutes, just shoot it down, and just kill it and take the loot. Like, that's how I finished that boss fight. It was easy. I was like, oh, I got this. But there are things like that that happen, and it's just like, they're random. They're not usually. I don't think developers really like being lazy in instances like that. But occasionally, sometimes I'll have to hit them up and be like, hey, what's up with this? So yeah. But yeah, it's cool to me though. Every once in a while, it's good at least having that open dialogue with them. What else do you guys want to know about? Trying to get you guys talking. I know it's late. You all need coffee.
Mobile games, do you also review mobile games?
Yes, I have some content with mobile games. I actually, a lot of stuff with Square Enix, because the last couple times I've gone to E3 or gone to some of their events at other, or at least, gatherings at other events, I've had to do a number of mobile games of Brave Exvius. I don't know if anybody plays Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, but this is a shirt I got from, one of the developers that does it. When I saw them, I get to play, see the game early, talk with them, do one-on-one interviews with them. As far as reviews, I haven't done a lot of reviews for mobile games, with the exception of guides for like Fallout Shelter and such. But as I still am able to see them, still go to events and actually play them, because I think it's good to have that type of exposure to that. Because obviously, mobile games are a very big deal. They're a growing thing. I mean, everybody has a mobile phone or a tablet, so obviously there's going to be some sort of stuff there to pay attention to. I mean, Super Mario Run. We're getting Animal Crossing like not too long from now. Everybody's going to get house calls from Tom Nook. I'll tell you right now, y'all better pay up your bills. But yeah, it's still an important aspect of it.
So how do you, I guess, sift through all the mail from all the, I guess, game studios sending you like games to review? Like, how do you pick them?
Sometimes, I mean, I don't really get a lot of emails like that where I get flooded. I know people that do, like, because obviously their followings and their outlets, and everybody wants them to talk about their games. But as far as like choosing what games to review, choosing what games to cover and talk about, usually it's games that really appeal to me, games that I'm passionate about, series I'm passionate about, games that I know, series that I know. I'll go to the publisher or the PR people and ask them, hey, like, we want to talk about this game, or I want to review this game on launch or before launch. Would you mind? Are you able to send me a review unit, a review copy, or at least get me an interview with some of the people over there? Something. Or better yet, even now, it's happened to me a few times, I've been able to get flown out by the publisher to go to different events, like Destiny 2. I went to 2 Destiny 2 events. I went to the big reveal event that they had with the live stream and everything. I was actually in the audience there. And then there was the one right before where a bunch of us from the media, from different outlets, got to play the game like a whole couple weeks early, I want to say. We flew out to Bellevue and got to talk to Bungie, got to do a whole bunch of different stuff, where we're actually able to get like a lot of coverage, a lot of video content, and then put it out by certain embargo dates, things like that. But really, it comes most of the time from me reaching out to them. It's not as much them reaching out to me. Like, it happens every once in a while, but it usually comes from indie developers that want everybody to talk about their stuff. But usually, it's me reaching out to them.
Oh, all right. That's pretty
Which is cool. But yeah. What's up?
So who are some of the influences on you, like maybe other games journalists that you would have idolized as a kid?
Oh, I have a lot, man. I mean, my biggest one that, again, I got to talk to him recently, Colin Moriarty. He's one of my biggest role models, one of my biggest influences in what I want to do as far as like make the impact I want to make. Stuff. I got to talk with him for about an hour. I mean, the first time I met him, it's crazy meeting people that you watch on TV or watch on the internet. It's surreal sometimes. And then it really brings things in perspective to you, it grounds you a little bit. And it's very cool because sometimes, most of the time you always hear stories about people when they meet like their influencers or role models that are not what you expect. More often than not, in this case for me, it was like, this cool dude, it's great conversation, great topics, great food for thought that I got from him. So Colin's one of them, Greg Miller, obviously, everybody knows Greg Miller. from Kind of Funny from IGN. Adam Sessler. Anybody a G4 fan? Who grew up with G4 here? Who watched G4 TV? Who watched X-Play? Let's separate the OGs now. Who watched X-Play? Who watched Judgment Day? Who watched Attack of the Show? Screensavers? Hey, see, notice those numbers start to dwindle. Extended play? Yeah, exactly. So Adam Sessler's another one. I'm actually trying to get him on my show sometime soon. I've actually been trying to reach out and be like, hey, come chat it up with me, and we can talk about a whole bunch of stuff, like different people like that. A bunch of women that I actually really look up to. Andre Renee. Anybody knows that Andre Renee? If you ever walked into a GameStop and you actually seen that little video that they play on the TV, Andre Renee did a bunch of videos for them on that. She was on GameStop TV. She does What's Good Games now. She was on Playboy at Gamer Next Door. Did a bunch of stuff with Pamela Horton, which is pretty cool. Alexa Ray Correa is another one that she's also part of What's Good Games. She does a lot of the JRPG stuff. She's written about Kingdom Hearts, one of my favorite series of all time. Final Fantasy, like crazy. Dragon Quest, a whole bunch of stuff. You know, that if you love JRPGs, you've read her stuff or seen some of her work at some point. I'm trying to think who else is another big one. Jeff Keighley. Anybody know who Jeff Keighley is? The Game Awards. If you guys ever checked out game trailers back in the day before it went under, he did a lot of the stuff in game trailers. Also, Michael Pachter. Michael Pachter's a good influence on me also because Michael Pachter's the money guy of the gaming industry. He knows money. He knows numbers. Like he's like that old man with like the toe that seen doing the taxes like that. That's what he reminds me of. But he's a really cool dude, a really cool, great old man. But he knows all about a lot of stuff. You see him on like CNBC or CNN, something like that, talking about money. So it's interesting from him too because that's an aspect of the gaming industry that is there that people talk about it, but not a lot of shine gets on it because we're so caught up in the flair and the style and the big kind of reveals, the crazy exclusives, the AAA splashes of the gaming industry. That's what we really focus on. And he covers a little bit of a different aspect of that, even though he does his own show called Pack Attack or the Pack Factor and stuff. It's really cool. So those are some of my biggest influences. I mean, then you get into like the YouTube stuff. Like, obviously everybody here watches videos on YouTube, right? I'm pretty sure you've checked out a lot of gaming personalities on there. Believe it or not, this is going to make a couple people cringe. One of my biggest influences when I started out was Dark Side Phil. As far as like putting videos on, as far as the frequency of that. I used to watch a lot of his videos back in the day because YouTube was young back then. There was a lot of people that were on YouTube that were still on the grind putting stuff up, like the Angry Video Game Nerd, Nostalgia Critic. What was the other? There was another one I'm trying to remember. That was like similar to the Angry Video Game Nerd. There was like a bunch of clones of him throughout the years. He's got doppelgangers. But there's different people like that. I mean, also I used to watch a little bit more Philip DeFranco, like old Philip DeFranco stuff. You know, you get a good piece of like people all over the place from different aspects of the gaming industry. But those are some of my biggest ones that I've really loved watching over time and being able to talk with them now. At least, meet up with them. Another one also too, The Completionists. Everybody watch The Completionists? Anybody know who that is? Okay, yeah. Gerard, he's pretty cool. I got to meet him for the first time at, E3. We went to the Ubisoft press conference, so we got to talk for a little bit. That was pretty cool. So, yeah. So, talk to me. What else do you guys want? I'm trying to get you guys talking a lot more, because you guys are like defeated. Some of you probably went to class, you're like, you know what, I'm done.
Someone sent me something from Kickstarter that said,
Say that again?
Kickstarter. Like, there's someone sent me that they're making a game for Kickstarter.
I've had some stuff come my way with that. I've tried to avoid Kickstarters and a lot of, GoFundMe type of stuff, because I feel like that gets into very weird gray territory. There's a lot of stuff involving ethics where, as a journalist or someone that, critiquing a product and such, you don't want to be able to fund that because then that's always put into question. Like, that came up within the last few years about Kickstarter, because also keep in mind, a lot of people have really kind of had a really bad aftertaste with Kickstarter with games like Mighty No. 9, or was it, I forgot the other one that he did, I think it was Red Earth or Red Sun, something like that. The other Kenji Inafune game that was done on Kickstarter. Red Ash, okay, yeah, there you go. And then there's a couple others. Then there's also Bloodstained, which I got to play Bloodstained in E3, and it's pretty dope, especially if you like, Castlevania. But then you hear about the stories where people get stuff pushed back, other big publishers or companies pick it up, and all of a sudden they're the ones that are making the decisions, not the people that give money for the Kickstarter. It gets into a lot of weird territory. So I've really kind of avoided some stuff here and there, but I've had some things come my way here and there. Oh, did you miss this?
No.
Jake, what is the future of Jakejames, Lugo, and the coalition?
Oh, of me and where I want to go?
Yeah.
Again, I want to be able to work for IGN. That's my biggest goal. I want to be able to be full staff at IGN. Because I've been very unapologetically open about that. Because, again, To me, they're the biggest, and I want to go do stuff and make an impact with the biggest. I want to be able to at least make an impact in the gaming industry through my craft stuff that's really going to be felt long after I'm gone. At least that's the way I look at it, because I'm passionate about games, I'm passionate about the industry, I'm passionate about the discussion about games, because I think that to me, that's fun. Being able to go to a convention or an event like E3 or PAX. Anybody here been to PAX? A couple people been to PAX? Y'all need to go to PAX. Start making plans now for April. That you should go to these types of events, especially if you guys want to be devs, especially if you want to be involved in the gaming industry. Going to events is a huge, important aspect of it, because that's where you meet people, that's where you get engrossed in that environment of people that are very similar to you, that love this type of stuff. That's where you learn new things. I mean, even me as a journalist, wanting to talk about games and do podcasts and stuff, just being around some of the people when they're at work, you pick up on things. You get in that energy, you get in that mindset, it's like, yo, I see something awesome that they're doing over there. I want to be able to be on that same level. I want to be around that crowd. So you start doing similar stuff or taking similar approaches or start thinking about things differently in order to be around that same environment. It becomes very addictive. And it's good because obviously you want to up your game. You want to up your quality of stuff. But yeah, I just say, to me, it's like being able to do stuff, things that are just people are going to like, people are going to enjoy, people are going to talk about and remember or go back to down the line. That's where I want to go for me. As far as like the coalition, I'm still with them. Eventually, if I ever get the call, or if I ever get the ability to go to another outlet that's like, a big outlet where all of a sudden now I'm being paid on a salary to be, doing what I do best or doing what I love, and obviously things are going to change. But for now, I'm still with them. I'm still grinding it out, still putting up content. Again, trying to really put stuff out there. Again, I just got an iTunes podcast recently, so I'm still constantly doing something every day. So trying to make it happen.
Have you been to GDC?
I've been dying to go to GDC. And here's the problem with GDC. This is every single time. PAX East is right around the corner or it's right around it. And you can only do so many trips sometimes. I would love to go to GDC. I would love to go to, the Gamescom conference in Germany. I would love to go to Tokyo Game Show. I would love to go to Paris. Paris Games Week is happening right now. But, or at least, this weekend, something like that. The PlayStation conference at Paris Games Week is about to go down. So I want to go to all these places, especially GDC, since it's right here in the United States. It's just I haven't had the time to.
GDC is definitely more developer oriented. I feel press have a better time of like.
That's when we get that interaction.
Right. We
get more of that interaction, especially with indie developers that are able to go, because there isn't a lot of the general public going. Like E3 now, it's become more general public because there are allowing more people to go. But E3 used to be, because it was so exclusive, you still get to have that one-on-one conversation with the devs or the publishers that are there. And still be able to be in that environment. But GDC even more so because that's a little bit more of an industry event. It's strictly an industry.
Right. I've been to PAX a few times, specifically PAX East. I've been to the others, but I've been to PAX East a lot, and it's a big it's an event for the consumer. It's a big consumer.
Yeah, it's always been a consumer event.
There's a lot of developers, especially a lot of indie developers.
Of course, yeah.
This past year, there was a billion indie developers.
The reason being also is because there's a lot of people that go. A lot of the general public, because keep in mind, that's your outlet, and at least that's your open window to the general public. Or, at least speaking to them and being out there. Because you can still get exposure from press and media, like some of these industry events, and, somebody talks about it, all of a sudden it'll blow up. You can also do the same thing at a PAX, where it's like random people that go to the stores and just buy games, be able to reach out to them.
I guess it depends where your goal is. I think if you want to go to PAX, like for that, go to PAX. Because I think there's a much bigger audience in numbers, right? And it's less expensive than GDC. But if you want to get a job in the industry,
you should, as a person like us here, everybody should try to go to everything.
Yeah.
Right, bottom line, like that, because you want to be able to be out there.
So much.
You want to be able to be everywhere that you can, especially if you're working in the industry. But definitely PAX is a fun event. I love PAX East. I've gone now maybe about 3 times as media.
Yeah, I've gone 4.
But it's really cool. The one I want to go to now is PAX West, PAX Prime.
Me too.
And then eventually, God willing, go to like a PAX Australia, even though it's similar. PAX Australia, PAX South, very similar events. But I'd be able to go to all those. Just to say that I've gone and experienced it.
Very important, right? Or kind of PAX after parties.
Here's the funny thing about after parties, right? As someone that's been there and seen stuff go down, they're very overrated.
Okay.
Everybody this way. People gas them up more than what they actually are. Because I've been to some crazy E3 after parties, like that. Because the reason why you go to these after parties is the business side of things, the serious side of things. Okay? The real reason why you're going. Real reason why you're going. Is because you want to be able to relate and get at least that one-on-one time and be in front of a lot of these people, developers, publishers, other people you can at least interact with here and there. And sometimes being around that atmosphere really helps out as far as like getting everybody to lower their defenses. They're not in PR mode. What I call PR mode is when you go to say hi to them, you go to talk to them, and they're giving you the scripted response.
Right.
That's how everybody is sometimes, especially if you're in PR, when you're talking to the media or, again, somebody talking to another general person, because you want that good perception. That's how it is at E3 a lot. You know, you can try to go talk to somebody and you're trying to get a scoop and stuff, they're on lockdown. They're iron gate. Like, they don't want no craziness. They want no breaking news. They don't want stuff going out of their PR plan. However, once you go to things like this, sometimes this is where, you know, a lot of the ideas, a lot of the conversations happens like that. And most of the time, you're not supposed to really talk about things like that. You know, it happens. But it's good at least getting to know people in the industry, getting to at least be in front of them, getting to at least, you know, be able to relate to them and at least put your face in front of them like that. Because then later on, that comes into factor at some point. For me, one of the craziest, like, events or gatherings that I went to was at an E3 party. I went to this one for Bethesda, of all the publishers. It was in LA. It was my first E3. And it was in the shadiest part of LA. Like, if you can imagine going to a place like Compton, and like a really like shady part of Compton that you've never been to before, this one was like that, but like out in the middle of nowhere, in like the most dark spot, all out of the way, and like away from everything else. Like, it was closer to Hollywood, something like that, but it was in this place that just looked suspect, like really suspect. You go inside, and it's a Bethesda gathering, you know, so you're thinking like Fallout, Elder Scrolls, etc. like that. You think you're going to go see stuff like that. There was really no games there. I mean, there was a couple of promotional material stuff there, but it was really about just getting people together and just talking stuff. It was a crazy night because that was the first time I met Cliffy B. That was the first time I met Adam Susser. I met Marcus Beer. Anybody know Marcus Beer, the Annoyed Gamer? Game trailers? Anybody watch that? No? Maybe one, two people? Those like different industry people that I've met, you know, in environments like that, and been able to talk to them, be able to speak with them, and be able to at least be like, yo, check my stuff out, or at least, you know, I'm a fan of yours and stuff. It's always cool to have that. So it's necessary. It's a necessary part of the industry, or a part of the entire thing, even though, you know, it's extracurricular for a lot of people.
Right.
Which is still fun. But it's still cool. So what else do you guys want to know about? What else do you guys want to talk about as far as game stuff, games reviews, games media? Anything, throw it at me.
What was the first game you ever played that got you into gaming?
The very first, Sonic the Hedgehog on Sega Genesis. Back in 1993, 94 for me. It's been a while. Years mix them up sometimes a little bit, but that was my very first game. It was Sega Gen. Literally, Genesis was my Genesis into gaming. As cliche and cheesy as that sounds, and it's totally true. I was a Genesis kid growing up. Okay, I know one of the things that's like really old school, and you could really tell when you talk to some people that grew up around that time frame with Genesis, SNES, and then eventually PlayStation 1 and 64, is that a lot of people that had one console, because you could only really get one console in the household, had friends where you could go visit and they had the other console. That's how you got exposed. So as a Genesis kid, I had Sonic, I had the WWF games, Royal Rumble, Raw, WrestleMania arcade game. I had Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3, MK eventually, Street Fighter Championship Edition, etc. You know, the list goes on. Toe Jam and Earl, Vector Man, stuff like that. And I would go to friends' houses and I would get exposed to Super Mario Worlds, Super Mario All-Stars, Super Mario Kart, Donkey Kong Country, Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3. You know, the list goes on. That's how you get exposed to that back in the day. But for me, it was Genesis. That was my very first. The first time I got a Nintendo console, though, believe it or not, was N64. And I still remember I got Shadows of the Empire, Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, because I was a big Star Wars fan, and Turok Dinosaur Hunter. Those were my two first games on N64. And then, because I had that, I had a friend who owned a PlayStation 1, so I would go to his house and play Tekken 2, Tekken 3, Crash Bandicoot, random stuff.
This channel is sponsored by Flynn's Arcade and More, located in Margate, Florida. Flynn's is one of the premier spots for gaming fans in South Florida. They have a variety of arcade games on cabinet for you to play throughout the week, including all of your beloved classics. You could also play a ton of new and current console games too, on PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo consoles. Grab a snack or drink and enjoy the best gaming experience you'll find. Visit during one of their many big events to connect with the gaming community in South Florida. Want to test your skills in competitive fighting games? Join any of the weekly tournaments that happen at Flynn's for a chance for some cool prizes. And if you're into tabletop gaming or model kit building, there's a bunch of events there for you too. Swing by Flynn's Arcade and More, located in Margate Boulevard in Margate, Florida. You won't find a better spot than Flynn's.